Okay, guys, today we need to talk about something that is a very helpful reminder in the whole scheme of the narcissist abuse idea. And this is how the narcissist ultimately gaslights themselves the hardest in the end. Because whenever we're under the unfair, terrible gaslighting that we can't even see all of it, and we're still in a lot of confusion and fear and obligation and guilt over gaslighting that we can't even see yet, it's helpful to remember that once we can unsort some of this and work through it and get past it, the narcissist is only gaslighting themselves the worst, honestly. And the proof of this is hidden in the definitions of what the narcissist does, their abuse cycle of idealization, devalue, discard. In that entire process, they are, in a very complex way, they are gaslighting themselves through the entire cycle. And they're gaslighting themselves the hardest. So, another proof of this is the only reason, the main reason, that we become gaslighted, or the abused person becomes gaslighted, is because the narcissist is living, if you will, inside of a gaslighting vortex. Therefore, everyone around them gets sucked into it. We get sucked into the supply tunnel and into the tunnels of the narcissist to varying degrees. The closer we are, the worse it is. But we get sucked into the idealization, into the evil, into the mind control, into the lies, and into the gaslighting, because that's what the narcissist is filled with. Now, sometimes you will have like a psychopathic, sadistic narcissist that will go out of their way to deliberately gaslight in a very unique, specific way, much like the movie itself, the movie it's named after. But a lot of times, from what I've seen, this gaslighting comes from a natural outcome of the narcissist is living inside the gaslighting vortex, that their whole universe is about the lie. And so when they approach you, you're just part of that, and they treat you that way, and therefore you get sucked into it, and the way it comes across to you is a twisted form of a lie and an expectation there that you're supposed to just go along with the lie. And if you don't, something is wrong with you. And so if you happen to have an abuser that deliberately picked on you, though, and lied to you in a specific way, that is a little different than what I'm going to get into here. And that happens also to varying degrees. But what I'm going to get into here is kind of, if you want to call it subliminal, that basically the narcissist has believed and accepted lies. And he treats everyone, she treats everyone around them as though these lies should just be automatically accepted. And if you don't, then you're treated like something's very badly wrong with you, because they can't afford for anything to not match those lies. That's how that usually goes. And so here's just a quick look at how that works. So part of the problem that they get so stuck into the way they act and the way they see things is that they have come to believe in a specific version of reality that they surround themselves with. And I've gotten into videos before about how they're either actively living in a fantasy that they're addicted to of how great they are, how powerful they are. That's one of the key classic baseline definitions of a narcissist, is living in that fantasy where they're Superman or Superwoman, or they're a movie star, they're a model, they're a rock star, and everyone has to go along with that daydream or that fantasy, or they're discarded either to their face or behind their back, and they're not accepted. Or the narcissist, even if they don't actively daydream like a child or something, what they do there is they literally progressively grow to believe that the world is very different than it is, and grow to believe themselves progressively more and more and more special and unique and powerful and beautiful and wise and wealthy and entitled and etc., etc. And so either way, it's sort of living in a fantasy and a daydream type situation. But that is, if you will, a gaslighting strategy. Well, they're sitting there gaslighting themselves by doing that. That's how they come to idealize everything that falls into their tunnel of supply, is that in order to hold up this version of reality, in order to support it, some people call it the false ego, everything becomes idealized that they encounter, especially the things close to them, especially the things that they deem supply. And so that's how idealization fits there. And of course, they're constantly upholding this false image and the false self. And things that can go into that would be outright sadism, control, abuse, deliberately to control and to, they either control cruelly or they control with flattery, but it's all the same. It's all not based in reality and with no empathy to the people around them. Sometimes they do it out of desperation. Some parts of the cycle of idealization, devalue, and discard can be very desperate for the narcissist, I believe. That's where they receive injuries and they have fallbacks of fury and fuel and seeking out new supply. And it's always about supporting the false self. Keep in mind, who is this gaslighting? Who is addicted to believing a lie here? Who's believing the lie the most? Keep that in mind. So notice how during this narcissistic cycle, during this way that they're stuck of viewing their version of the world, that they are creating and upholding and deeply buying into, to the point that they're threatened if reality steps in. They're buying into this script and they're expecting the idealized life at all times, to varying degrees, depending on what type of narcissist you have. And so what I would conclude here is that even though the people around them who are abused, they may go through times where they have a wake-up call and they have been deluded for a very long time, and this can be very harmful and damaging. But there's hope for the one who's abused because they desire to see reality. They work to see reality, and they will go through pain in order to accept reality. Whereas the narcissist, not so much, right? And so my argument here is that they are harmed the most. They are gaslit the most, and that keeps them in this abusive cycle that they never really get out of, outside of a miracle. That's why you hear everyone say that there's no hope for the narcissist. And I don't necessarily say that, but I do say when it comes to you saving them, there's no hope there. And it would be best to get away if you can. But they're the one that's caught in this cycle where they have these terrible, unrealistic expectations. They are trapped and caught up into abusing others to fulfill their needs. That is a terrible curse right there. That is so awful. Everything is lies. In their world, everything is lies. They're not interested in seeing the truth. They're only interested in the bullying that you see, the extreme bullying and intrusion of themselves onto other people. That is how they treat reality in general. That's why they're so entitled. That's why they are so superior in their mind. They have the right over reality. Even reality must bend to them. They are God. So that's why they're cool with lies, is because they're just not open and accepting to reality. That's where you see a lot of the stunted thinking and the glib talk and things that go with that, with the shallow thinking and the shallow type mind, is because they are not open to the broad spectrum of reality. They're stuck on everything has to be a certain way to support the hyper-idealist version of not only themselves, but of reality around them. And on with the theories of where that even comes from child abuse to wickedness to all of the above. But that's where they're stuck, in this gaslighting vortex of their own mind. And like I said, the person who's abused has hope because there's pain, there is destruction there, but they're willing to even suffer to come back to reality, to come back to the truth. Whereas the abuser, reality and the truth must come and bow down before them. They make reality. They make the truth. They run their world to that degree, or so they believe they have to. And of course, you can imagine this would lead to a whole lot of misery in so many different ways. And so, just like other videos that are made here on YouTube, this is intended to be a little bit more of a description, a little bit more light on the situation to help us understand and more easily learn how to block this out of our life, to see what's really going on with them, to understand why there absolutely has to be distance between ourselves and this person, to maybe help us know how to pray, but how to get away and how to stop seeing things their way and how to not accept it, to not be like this in any way accidentally, and to understand if you ever feel robbed, like you were gaslit, to understand that you're not the only one. They're the ones being gaslit the hardest. It's not like they did that to you and they're somehow on top and they got away. They're the first victim of this. That kind of puts the power back where it needs to be, because they're the ones who are being gaslighted. They're the ones who really don't have control. They're the ones who are the worst harmed and have the least hope and are the most stuck. Because these are all ways that we can feel terribly abused, like we've been damaged, we're stuck here, we can't get out. But if you think you feel that way, just look at their situation. That's where they are first. Even though the reason why it may look like they're free and they're happy and they're peaceful and they're rewarded is because of their overcompensation. They're so stuck, they're so trapped in lies. That's why they overcompensate to make it look like they're not. Because the truth is, they're more and more stuck. And that's not to sit there and laugh at them or anything, but just to understand how it really is, to help us easily take the freedom that is ours, to understand that things are a little bit more balanced and a little bit more right, because it's not like they murdered us and left us in the ditch while they walk away free. That's not how it really is. And we do have a lot more power and we do have a lot more freedom than it appears like. To understand that the gaslighting and the other black vortexes originate with the abuser. And we can walk away from that and just leave it where it belongs, away from us. And so, I hope this video was helpful. Please share it with someone if you think it may help, and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And in the meantime, I hope all of you guys are having a really great narc-free day.